Hey, everybody, it is Trags Mike Petraglia back with the latest installment of the Jungle Roar Bengals postgame pod. I am joined, as always, by Richard Skinner of Local 12 and local12.com in Cincinnati. This podcast is being brought to you, as always, by our good friends at Prize Picks and All Good Home Improvement. Skinny, 28-3, and the Bengals were on the wrong side of a blowout loss again. For the second time in 8 days, the Bengals fall to 2-2. But I want to start with Ja'Marr Chase's comments after this game because really I think it gets to the heart of one of the fundamental problems with this team. And I asked Ja'Marr Chase after the game about the 28-3 loss, falling behind 21-3 at halftime again and not really having a chance in the second half. Do the Bengals have a true sense of urgency? And Ja'Marr Chase answered that question, quote, "The urgency is there, but you've got to want it. Today, it didn't look like we wanted it." I think those are pretty damning words, and I think it's a wake-up call for the Bengals. Your take?
Yeah, they are, and I was there when he said it, but I don't know. What does that mean? I didn't see a team quit. I just see a team that's not good enough. And I think sometimes that gets overblown by everybody, media, players, fans especially. It's an easy thing to point to that they didn't want it. I don't know what that means. I know what I saw, which is a team that's very flawed at the moment and maybe too flawed to figure things out to move forward. He did say it. I mean, I was standing right there when he said it, but I even scratched my head going, "What? I don't even know what you mean by this, my man."
Well, here's what I think he means. I think he feels that this was a very talented team coming in. And obviously they've lost Joe Burrow, and the offense is going to take a hit. I think everybody understands that. Everybody realizes that. What I don't think Ja'Marr Chase and a lot of Bengal fans expected was the team to be emasculated on both sides of the ball, especially the offensive line, again, getting shoved around. You saw several snaps here on Monday night in Denver where the offensive line was literally pushed into the lap of Jake Browning. Now, there were a couple of times in the second half Jake Browning held on to the ball too long. I think that was obvious from anybody who watched the game or watched a lot of replays of the game that he held on to the ball too long. But when the offensive line cannot exert its will, and it only did really one time, and that was the first drive of the game when they wound up with 3 points. When you can't exert your will, you have no chance to win the game. And I think when a team gets beat in the trenches, it looks like they don't want it bad enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mess at the moment. The funny part was it was a mess when Joe Burrow was quarterbacking it, right? I mean, that first game against Cleveland, the offense was a mess. I mean, they've been held under 200 yards 3 of the 4 games they've played this year. My take on this is this. I think a chunk of this does fall on Zach Taylor. That I think last week in Minnesota, I think he played it very conservatively, hoping, hey, man, let's just see if we can get this thing out 17-13 and get home with a win like that. And then right. Jake throws a couple of picks and he gets even more gunshot. And so what was the whole mantra this week? Can't throw interceptions. And to your point, I think Jake held the ball too long a few times, that he didn't let it rip. And I go back to a quote that Zach had out of the Jacksonville game into the next week against Minnesota, where I don't know who asked it, but it was asked is the offense going to change much with Joe not there? He goes, no, the offense is the offense. But I think it has changed. I think it's changed a lot. And I think maybe the last learning part to this for them, and the only thing I would cling hope to if I'm a Bengals fan, is after these 2 games of very conservative play calling, very conservative play, that you just say, you know what, just let it rip, man. You can't play quarterback in this league like this. And I thought Jake played really, really tentative tonight.
I think it's a great point, and that's one of the reasons when you look at the stat sheet, it's the 4th most lopsided yard differential in Bengal history.
And the other 3? Here's the other 3 that cracked me.
I do. Go ahead.
Here's what cracks me up. One was the expansion team in 1968. Yes. You kind of give them a pass. It was an expansion team, right? The 2005 team in the regular season finale against the Chiefs was the second most. In that game, they sat their starters because they were going to play a playoff game the next week. Had nothing to play for.
That's an asterisk game.
And then a weird game in 2005. They were missing, I think, A.J. Green and Marvin Jones, if I'm not mistaken. 2014 up in Indy, they got beat 27-0, and that was actually a playoff team. It was just a weird game.
Two of the 3 were playoff teams.
Yeah, correct. But I mean, you're talking epic grounds here. Last week was the worst margin of defeat in franchise history. This week is the 4th most yard differential. you're reaching some stages where you scratch your head and you go, this is far deeper than just the quarterback. This is in many issues that are coming into fold at the moment.
First downs, Denver 29, Cincinnati 9. Total net yards, which we just mentioned, 512 for Denver, including a career high 326 passing yards for Bo Nix and 159 yards for the Bengals. As you mentioned, Skinny, you're not going to win games when you can't even get 200 yards of total offense with the weapons that you built the team around. Obviously, you don't have Burrow, but you have built this team with significant weapons, and you're not getting them the ball. And, after the game, Jamar, of course, was asked about the targets, and he was targeted 8 times here on Monday night. He only caught 5 passes. Skinny, he had 23 yards on those 5 passes. You're not going to win any game like that.
No, and that's where I go back to. My hope would be you decide after this game that, listen, we're just going to have to let Jake rip. Let's run the offense the way we've always run the offense. Let the mistakes, if they happen, they happen. But we've got to let ourselves be able to go make some plays. And I think that's the part of it. Mike, the other crazy stat out of this game was the Bengals had more penalties, 11. They actually had 14 called. 11, then first downs gained 9. That's insane. It's unreal.
Yes. So while you're on that subject, and I want to actually get to that in just a moment. But when you take a look at the discipline on this team, it's not good. And I asked Zach about that after the game at the podium, and he said, yeah, discipline is probably the number one problem with the game tonight. Above and beyond the inability of the offense to execute, right, is when you're committing penalty after penalty in all 3 phases of the game, offense, defense, special teams, you're doing it, especially on the road, Skinny, you're not going to win games.
No, you're just not. And, probably the worst penalty of the night was the Marius Mims can't even get lined up correctly. And they throw a 37-yard pass down to the Denver 14 that gets called back. You can't lining up is supposed to be the easiest thing you do. Yeah, the most basic thing you can do. It's insane.
I don't know if things are going to get easier. Of course, next week, the Bengals have the Detroit Lions. We'll get to that in just a moment. Skinny, the decision early on in this game, you mentioned the tentative play of Jake Browning. What about the tentative play calling of Zach Taylor down close in, 4th and goal with a chance to punch in a touchdown on the first drive of the game, and he kicks the field goal? I can see the logic there because you have a team that's marched down the field. You want to walk away with points on the road Monday night. I get that. But I think the message of you're trying to deliver is we need to be just as aggressive with Jake Browning as we would be with Joe Burrow.
Yeah, one small correction. It was 4th and 2 at the 9, I believe. So yeah, but it was 4th and short to your point.
4th and 2, right?
4th and 2. Yeah, it was a 4th and short enough. Yeah, I wish he'd have gone for it. I'm not always uber aggressive, but I think in that situation, yeah. Do you want 3 points? Yeah, great, maybe. But, I think this was a game where you needed to get a 7 real quickly. And if you didn't, you still got them backed up. And if you don't have enough faith in your own defense, then what the hell are we doing anyway?
Okay, here's the bigger problem I had. And James Rapine brought this up to Zach post-game, and that was the decision on 4th and 2 to punt. Yes, you're in your own territory. You're also down 21-3, getting your ass handed to you, quite frankly, and you have a chance to go for it in that situation. I think you nut up and go for it, Skinny.
I think they don't have enough. I don't think he has confidence that they can get 2 yards.
Though? If you're punting,
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying I think it shows that. I think that right there shows how little confidence he has in this group at the moment. You know what, though, Skinny?
That's a message to the entire team. I don't care if you don't have confidence or not. Go out and get 2 yards.
No,
to me, that's the message that you need to send. And I think, Skinny, I think you hit the nail right on the head. I think going forward, the coaching staff is going to have a heart-to-heart with themselves, with each other in these meetings, getting ready for Detroit on a short week, and say to themselves, look, we got to throw away this, let's modify the offense, if that's what they've been doing for Jake Browning. We have got to have the same attitude with Jake Browning as we do Joe Burrow.
Because guess what? This defense isn't much better than it was last year, if it's even better at all. So you're going to have to start piling up points to win games. Again, that score tonight, it should have been 42-3 with the yardage differential and all that stuff, as opposed to 28-3. I mean, Demetrius Knight had that interception in the end zone that squashed one drive. But yeah, you think you're going to win kicking threes against Detroit? Think again there, my friend.
You are absolutely not. And I'm sure that's going to be front and center with
I would hope.
Zach Taylor's attitude coming into this week. He knows you're not going to hold Detroit under 24 points. I think they're going to score pretty easily north of 24 points unless they gift wrapped you a couple of turnovers like you did in Minnesota. How about J.K. Dobbins? 16 carries against this Bengals, the only 16, second straight week that the lead rusher only had 16 carries. And for the second straight week, that running back goes well over 100 yards. Tonight, not well over, but 101 yards for J.K. Dobbins. First time in 38 games, Skinny, that a Denver running back has had 100 yards rushing in a game.
You know what the Bengals are starting to feel like for teams? A get-right game. And you don't want to be the get-right team, man.
I think either Joe Buck or Troy Aikman said that on the broadcast. I think it was Joe Buck who said it on the national ABC broadcast. If you are the Bengals right now, you have got to shake that moniker, shake that rep that is going to quickly go around the league. How about let's talk about where the Bengals are overall in the division. 2 bad losses back-to-back on the road. They get emasculated in each game, pushed around, shoved, beaten pretty much in every way you can get beaten. Last week, the turnovers. This week, they just couldn't move the ball, and their defense wore down. But they're 2-2. They're a game behind the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are a game ahead of the Baltimore Ravens and the Cleveland Browns. They're still in second place, and if there was some way they could figure out a way to stay above water with Jake Browning, they could stay in this race for quite a while.
Yeah, the only thing I come out of the locker room with tonight, it just doesn't sound like anybody has great definitive answers for how to fix this, right? I mean, it was more about hope. In fact, you asked, I think it was you that asked Jamar, and he said, yes. I don't want to use the word hope. But I think that tells you that he understands that there really aren't. I think he had the thing was, we just need to find a way to move the ball down the field. Great. And who doesn't know that? What are you going to do to fix that? I think that's the big part. I didn't think Zach had any great answers for that at the podium. Like, I still believe in these guys. We still have a great locker room. But do you though? I think that's the part that you got to start having sink in. Like, you look on that defense, I don't see a superstar. I mean, Trey Hendrickson is that possible guy, but it's a bad unit. The offensive line, they've invested in it. We discussed that before. I think everybody thinks, they've neglected. They have not neglected the offensive line. It's just all of a sudden Orlando Brown isn't any good. Ted Karras isn't any good. Dylan Fairchild's over. I mean, you started 2 rookie guards tonight. I mean, you can't win in this league with 2 rookie guards. It's hard to do. And Amarius Mims has had moments where he hasn't been very good. So, but you've invested a first-round draft pick in that guy. So, I think it goes far above everybody to the personnel level. They just have not evaluated this talent very well and collected this talent very well, in my opinion.
I think a lot of Bengal fans want to see, to coin a baseball expression, and kudos to the Reds for making the postseason. They start Tuesday night in LA. Kudos to them. I'll use a baseball expression as a tribute to Terry Francona's group. I think a lot of people want to see the Bengals enter the locker room and turn over tables. It's not going to happen. They needed to get on the plane, get out of Dodge, and get back there. But I think people want to see more. I think people want to see more of Jamar Chase animated on the sidelines, maybe tossing a helmet or two. But will that really pay off in any way, shape, or form, Skinny?
No, I fully expected him, actually, when he called us all over as a group, to probably be a little angrier than he was. But I also think he realizes I am a captain. I can't be the one losing my mind. I have to be the leader here, and good for him. But I don't even know if it goes to any of that. I just go looking at this team and just going, they're just not good. I mean, they're just not very good. And, maybe that tells you how good of a player Joe Burrow is, that he almost plays them out of this. And they're not letting Jake try to play them out. I think that's the big takeaway for me is after tonight, it's just time to say, you know what? Just let him rip. We're going to do what we said we were going to do. We're not changing the offense. We're not changing the way we call games. We're not going to be protective. We're just going to go let it rip. And if it looks ugly, it looks ugly. But maybe it won't, because I think it's the last thing I would cling hope to.
What does Al Golden need to do to get these players in and out of the game properly to match?
It's a great question.
offense because they didn't do a good job of it here Monday night. Zach made a very generic,
yes, he did,
vanilla reply when he was asked about that. He said, "We just have to match players."
Yeah, I know. I was the one that asked him it because I thought it was alarming.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought it was alarming to see how many times they couldn't get lined up, and no more so than that last touchdown. I mean, they got 2 or 3 guys coming on the field. Logan Wilson's trying to yell around. A couple other guys are yelling of where to go. And what happens on that play? They never get lined up. RJ Harvey slips into the left flat uncovered, walks into the end zone for a touchdown. And there were other times in that game where they just didn't get lined up. You know what you do? You know what? You play guys until they're tired, and then you sub them out in a series. You don't try to mix and match all this different personnel crap. Just, you know what? If you're going to be in nickel, stay in nickel, and stop messing with this stuff. I think that's the takeaway there, because whether I asked Dax Hill the same question. He said, yeah, we were trying to match their personnel groupings, and they just went too fast. Okay, man, I'll believe it, but it sure didn't. They looked like Keystone Cops. The optics of that were horrifying to watch.
Well, not only that, how many times did we see unbalanced situations where the defense had one defender on, let's say the left side or the weak side of the formation, and Denver had 3 players? Well, guess where Bo Nix is going to go with the ball?
I mean, how many times did you see that little bubble screen that got blocked up and went for 10, 12, 14? Look, like anytime they wanted that play, they could have that play.
And I don't know what Al Golden's going to do this week, because if you can't defend that against Denver, what in the world are you going to do against Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions?
It's a great question. I mean, they, again, didn't get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. They did a little bit early in the game, but, Bo Nix, I don't believe, was sacked, right? No, he was not sacked. And so that continues to be a problem. I mean, I don't know. Here's the thing. If I were to ask you, what is the identity of this Bengals defense, it would be what?
I have no idea.
Right. Thank you. That was literally the perfect answer. No, I don't know what it is. I mean, do you have to be more aggressive? Do you have to play more coverage? Do you drop 8 and rush 3? I don't know. I don't know what their identity is, because I think whenever they're matched up personnel wise, they're just not very good.
I will tell you one play that sticks out to me. They had 3rd and 10, and it was 14-3 right before halftime. And it was the last drive that that Denver had. And I'm like, okay, well, you have 3rd and 10 here. Get off the field. And at very worst, you're going to be down 14-3. And I'm like, it's still Bo Nix. This Denver team's blown 4th quarter leads in their last 2 games. It's a game. Okay, as badly as you've played, it's 14-3, but it's a game. And I'm sure they would feel that same way. But they allow a, whatever it was, 28-yard completion. I think it was to Cortland Sutton.
There's
down
a
the
Mims, to Marvin Mims.
Oh, Marvin Mims, thank you. Down the left sideline. And 3 plays later, they're in the end zone with 8 seconds to go before half. Ball game.
Mike, that drive was 9 plays, 80 yards, and they used up a minute when they took over on their own 20 with a minute 9 to go in the half. You're allowed to stop them. I mean, instead, to your point, you can't get off the field on 3rd and 10 because you give up a big play in the pass game. Then I don't know what the hell they were doing coverage-wise on the touchdown pass.
I don't either, and I don't know how easy, Skinny, it's going to be for this
I don't either, bro.
Team to find answers. And on a short week, facing the Detroit Lions, who are 3-1 coming into Paycor.
And look dynamite.
They sure do. They look like you would expect the Detroit Lions to look. The Bengals do not look anything like the Bengals fans thought they would look after signing Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and getting Trey Hendrickson in camp and getting Shamar Stewart, who missed a game again here on Monday night, and having a healthy Joe Burrow coming into the season. Bengals do not look a shell of what people thought they would be.